so much for watching. Uh, we got a lot to talk about. Actually, I think this might be a longer than usual one. I'm probably going to put if you're watching this later, I'm probably going to put a chapters thing because we got three major topics to cover. So the first topic we're going to cover is right here, drama in the Tesla community. People are shooting at each other. People are fighting with each other. And I want to cover that first. Second, we're going to talk about all the good news of this week, Robotaxi, the car delivering itself to the customer, SpaceX news, Neuralink news. And the third thing is we're going to talk again. I'm going to follow up on a video I just published about Tesla killer, the Xiaomi YU7 Tesla killer, and we'll talk in the chat as well. So let me get started here. There's something that happens. Let me just tell you what this is about. Okay. Elon unfollows Holmar's blog and apparently blocks him. That's Omar, my friend Omar Kazi. And then AJ, Allojo, starts taking shots at Omar, like gloating about Omar, like attacking Omar for no reason I can think of. And I want to relate this. If you've been following Tesla for a while, there's a lot of influencers. If you go back to the past, the OG world, we had K10, we had Omar, we had Rob Tesla Daily, Rob Maurer, we had Dave Lee. There were certain, now you know, Ben Sullins. You can go back. There's all these sort of OG Tesla influencers and YouTubers in particular who would talk about Tesla. And people followed them, and there was a lot of that. And then I came in, Stephen Mark Ryan came in, Farzad comes in. There's all these, Herbert came in. We went from, 4 or 5 content creators. Dylan Loomis, I don't remember when Dylan came in. We went from 4 or 5 content creators to like 50, if not more. And, Tesla grew as a company. Hello, everybody. Hello, Mark. Hello, B. Thank you all for being here. And Mark in particular, thank you for moderating the chat. And Jim Whitehead, if you show up. And Mark Plott, when you guys show up, thank you. There's something that happens. There's a societal thing. I call it why are mommy and daddy fighting. You see Omar's fighting with AJ, or, I had a big fight with Tesla Boomer Mama a while back, and shots. I'm going to take another shot at Gary Black later in this video. Like, there's all these people in the community, and you have different, I would describe it as different influencers become important. They get different followings, and you want to say, like Gary Black will say, Tesla bulls should all get along. It's like, well, we don't all have the same goals. So what happens when it started, it was like, we're really excited about this company that has great technology and that is going to really help improve the environment, right? By reducing air pollution and, making safer cars and making cool cars that we like. And we're tired of gas cars and we want to have electric cars. The early days of Tesla was people excited about really cool electric cars and a company. Hi, Amy. Nice to see my friend Amy. Sometimes I get to see personal friends, and Amy followed me on YouTube. I ended up meeting her and in person. Actually stayed in her house. She's got a great house in Florida. We've been in touch a lot. So she has Tesla solar and Tesla Powerwalls, and I was staying in her house when we had a hurricane. It was amazing. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. So I just wanted, like, you when you have a small group, right, everybody's on the same goals. And then as the situation evolves and, things change, you go from a bunch of people who are excited about the company and excited about the mission and excited about electric vehicles and the products to especially people who are excited about the stock. And I'm like a long-term stock guy. I'm wearing the Tesla Man t-shirt, by the way, no longer available for sale, unfortunately, but one of my favorite t-shirts. So you have people who get excited about the stock, and you have people who are long-termers like me about the stock that are like, where's the stock going to be in 2030? Where's the stock going to be in 2035? And not really worried, like, what's the stock going to be tomorrow? I just don't care. And you have the short-term traders and the people who are like gaming the stock. And then you have people who in the early days, Tesla was primarily appealing to California Democrats and to Democrats in general. And Republicans didn't like electric vehicles. And then Elon takes this turn where he's supporting Republicans after Democrats shot at him for 5 years or whatever. So all of a sudden the Democrat leaning, the people who identify more as Democrats than Tesla fans start getting angry at Tesla, start getting angry at Elon, and get angry at Ross Gerber is a perfect example of this. The guy's highly partisan Democrat and he flips out. So you have this tendency in groups, and it's not. Oh, thank you. Yes, I love this shirt. So it's not just Tesla community. If you look at the suffrage movement, if you go back to the 1800s, roughly 1870, something like that, there was this movement after the Civil War was over, and are blacks going to get the right to vote? Are women going to get the right to vote? And there were different groups that were pushing for the right to vote. And then at a certain point, there was a decision made, we're going to push for blacks to get the right to the vote, and women will be next. And some of the women were like, no, wait a minute. We should go at the same time. And some of the women said, yes, let's get blacks the right to vote first, whatever. And there's different factions and different leaders. And it ended up that blacks got the right to vote in 1870 and women waited till 1920. Right? Yeah, lost gerbil, exactly. Lost gerbil, Barry Glack, so on. So I think you see that any movement, any group, as it grows, you end up with different people who become leaders, and people start to become self-important. And I'm sure I can be accused of being self-important, and you get what I call smarter than Elon disease, where you get people who start saying, oh, Elon doesn't know what he's doing. Tesla needs to advertise. Elon doesn't know what he's doing. Tesla should do a stock split. Tesla should acquire XAI. Like, there's all these people who think they know better about what the company should do than Elon and the Tesla team, right? And that happens. I think the Now You Know guys got this way. I think they maybe have gotten better, but there was this period where they like started telling Elon what to do. Ben Sullins was telling Elon what to do. And like, okay, it's possible Elon's smarter than us. It's possible that Tesla team knows more about what they're doing than we do, right? So you just see a lot of these different things happen. So we had one of these incidents today. And today for me, I'm in Thailand, it's evening, because it was the morning. So Elon unfollows Holmar's blog. And Omar is 640,000 followers, one of the biggest influencers in the Tesla community, an OG, old guard influencer, one of the original FSD beta testers, published so many videos. Why did Elon unfollow? He not only unfollowed him, he later blocked him, apparently. I think Omar said positive things about Waymo and was critical of Robotaxi, and I don't know if Elon took it out of context, because if you follow Omar in context, you know he's very positive about Robotaxi, but I don't know, and he's unfollowed Omar like 4 times before, and he'll follow him again probably in a month or two, who knows. And I just don't worry about it, and Omar's not worried about it either, right? It's one of those things like these things happen and these things go away. But it created drama. And in particular, AJ created drama. Like, most people saw this and they're like, oh, come on, Elon, don't unfollow Omar. Come on. Like, a lot of people are like begging for Elon to refollow Omar, unblock him, whatever. So AJ, and I'm just keeping my mouth shut on this one. If you go back, by the way, there was a moment when Elon unfollowed Sawyer and Omar. It had to do with some news media report, and they reported it as if it was true. And I always hate when influencers do that. If Bloomberg says something about Tesla, if Reuters says something about Tesla, don't just report, this is what happened. Say, this bullshit media outlet is saying this about Tesla, and we don't know if it's true yet. That's the appropriate way to report that stuff, not reporting what Bloomberg says or Reuters says if it's true. And they reported something as if it was true, and Elon got pissed off and unfollowed them. I made a joke about it like 2 or 3 days later, and Elon responded, okay, I'll follow them again. And then he followed me. And like, I didn't do anything. I wasn't even trying. I don't think I tagged Elon or anything. I was just making a joke. So these drama things happen. Yeah, these drama things just happen, right? So AJ, who was a rebellionaire, if you follow my account, you know I'm a rebellionaire, right? I'm associated with this as Bradford Ferguson has this wealth management business, and he has a particular strategy for all-in or heavily in Tesla investors using a particular strategy with options that I recommend if you're interested, talking to him, whatever. AJ was part of the rebellionaire community. There's some falling out. I don't remember the details with Bradford, and AJ's out. And AJ's just I think he's gotten full of himself. I think he's a bright guy. I think he has some interesting ideas, but he started to think he's smarter than he is, right? And this is a pattern that you see, that somebody gets too big for their britches, so to speak, and he starts to think he's smarter than Omar. He's smarter. He's going to take shots at me, whatever. And it doesn't take long. They think they're smarter than Elon, right? And it's just, whatever. It's so. I saw AJ take a shot at Omar, and I said, hey, I've spent quality time with Omar in person. If you don't remember this or you don't know this, back in 2021, September 2021, I bought Omar's Model 3 that had uh, FSD beta when no one else had it. And I flew out to California, and he and K10 and my brother and I all drove across the country together. So I spent a lot of time with Omar. And I've spent time with him at Cyber Rodeo, and I spent time with him at one of the shareholder meetings. And we text each other. And we don't. It's not like we're like hanging out all the time, but we became personal friends. And I mean all of this. Omar is an amazing guy. He's extremely smart. He's got tremendous energy, tremendous focus. He would drive like, I don't know if it was, he's not driving, right? The car's driving. And this is early FSD beta. So you have to watch it close. And he's watching this thing like 16 hours a day, 18 hours a day. He's driving this thing or supervising FSD. I don't know how he does it. Just tremendous focus. He has a great sense of humor. You might not like his sense of humor, but he has a great sense of humor. He's very patient with people who don't understand, and he'll explain things. And I think he makes people smile. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying he doesn't piss people off. I'm not saying he hasn't done some bad things in his life. Maybe he has. I don't know. But he's just a very impressive guy. And I just said, AJ, you don't. And AJ and I have, he had his falling out with Rebellion Air. I didn't attack AJ. AJ didn't attack me. And I said, AJ, you don't know him. Stop. Because I know him, right? I don't know why he's taking these shots at Omar. I'm happy to be the same retard campus, my retard, anyway, like whatever. He's taking all these shots at Omar. And I said, stop it. I didn't call AJ any names. Notice I didn't say anything nasty about AJ here. I just said, stop picking on Omar. Don't do that. And he called me a retard, of course. He said scammers are always very nice in person. And this is important because he calls Omar a charlatan. He calls Omar a scammer. Now, if you don't know Omar's history, Omar is the one who sniffed out Trevor Milton. Trevor Milton and Nikola Motors, the hydrogen trucking company. They had some event where he invited a bunch of influencers in, and Omar's in the room, and Omar sniffed it out. Omar sniffed out. Oh, I think Omar called the Nikola fraud before anybody else. Claims Omar pumped. Here's the thing. Omar's content is not misleading. Omar is obviously been over-optimistic about FSD like all of us. Over-optimistic about Tesla. He's not misleading, right? His content harmed countless retail investors. What are you talking about? Who bought because of him at exactly the wrong time. There's no wrong time to buy Tesla. This is an example of what's wrong with AJ. And what happened, what we didn't see, I didn't see this coming with AJ, and I see it now clearly. Pumped out over and typed content, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but listen, scammer, bought at the wrong time. What is the wrong time? There's no wrong time to buy Tesla stock. He says, I'm defending a charlatan, which makes you as a moron. And I just, now look at it. Who is this guy? It doesn't say it here. Something about dollars up here. If you read this, it's your lucky day. Financial markets researcher, share entry exit points on stocks. Entry exit points on stocks? I'm the source for deep insights. Does this guy sound modest and humble? And does he sound like a long-term investor? Right? Remember when I talked back earlier about what's the mission? What are we about? Are we about the mission of the company to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy? We're excited about electric vehicles. We're excited about self-driving cars and technology. We're long-term investors, and we're looking for where's this company going to be in 2030? Or are we playing games with when's the dip and when's the high and when can I buy and when should I sell? Right? And do guys who talk like this, who's the scammer? Who's the charlatan? Guys who talk like this, that I can tell you when to buy and I can tell you when to sell? No, that's BS. That's nonsense. And so AJ went off the deep end here. So somebody called AJ a retard. Oh, I got these out of order. This is the detail. He also said Omar never held a real job with any company for long, let alone any company anyone would recognize. As I understand it, Omar started a company with his, I don't have this, I just know what I've talked to Omar about before, and I believe this is true. And I have reasons to believe it's true. Omar started a company with a professor that was successful. They sold it. He started a company with his father, built a company with his father, and I believe they sold it for like crazy, crazy money. Like, okay, I'm not saying $1 billion, but like crazy money. And Omar got whatever he got. And, I've been in one of his family houses, right? And I mean, like, wow. Okay, so like I don't know how many they have. I don't know how much they have, But Omar was very successful with two separate companies. I think he makes money now. I don't know exactly what he does all the time, but Omar does. I don't know who this guy thinks he is. Omar is somebody special there. So just these crazy shots. So then, this is about 20 hours ago now. He complains about Omar blocking him, and then 14 hours later, he brags about blocking me. Okay, this is drama, right? This is a drama queen. This is a guy who's. I just wanted to share with you. I've seen this meltdown so many times. We've seen Barry Glack meltdown. We've seen Lost Gerbil meltdown. Gary Black, Ross Gerber, Ben Sullins. My friend Alex, E for Electric, whatever. There's just like a stream of influencers, people who become influential in the community, and they have these meltdowns. I'm only getting started. Like, there's so many that this has happened to. There's so many of them, and just said, go off for a second. So I covered that, and I just want to mention, like, I've taken my shots at Gary Black. He's Barry Glack, as I call him, has blocked me 4 times now. I believe this 4th one is the permanent one. I don't think I'm getting back, and I don't care. It's comical because I can see his posts and I can share them. I can't quote post him, but fine, I'll screenshot you and post you. And I did this with this one. We continue to post on Tesla because many of our followers ask us daily what might be a good reentry point. See, this is short-term trader stuff. When to enter or when to exit. And we would venture a Tesla reentry price in the $250 range. 30% below our $358 exit. I don't think he really exited at $358. I think he's misleading here. After the new, more affordable Tesla is announced and turns out to be a lower cost Model Y or 3 and not a new form factor. Now, they've said that the new affordable models will be 20% less expensive, lower cost. I think it's really hard to get 20% of the cost out of the car without changing the form factor. I could be wrong. Like, they don't have leather seats now. Are you going to go to cloth and that's going to save you? How much money is that going to save you? You're going to take out the rear screen? There's not a lot of cost savings there by decontenting the car. And they have said they don't decontent cars. That's not the Tesla strategy. Franz and Lars both said basically that's not going to happen. So, but like, imagine if you followed Barry Glack and you waited for 250 and the stock falls to 280. And Barry says, hold the line, don't wait for 250. And then it goes to 600. Right? This is bogus. If you believe in the company, if you believe in the stock, if you believe in a company that is delivering, that now has robotaxis operating, that has cars that are delivering themselves from the factory to the home, which we're going to talk about later, and you see where that goes in terms of value creation, and not to mention Optimus, then like this 250, 350, who gives a crap if it's going to be $10,000 a share in 8 years, right? 5 years, whatever. It's going to be $5,000 a share in 5 years, and you care whether it's you buy in at 250 or 350. This is not long-term investor thinking. If you are looking for someone to give you tips on when to, buy at 250 or 350, I'm not that guy. I think it's going to $5,000 a share, and I think it's a good buy at $500 a share. Omar wasn't wrong to tell you to buy at 480. If you're planning to hold for 5-10 years, doesn't matter what price you buy. It's better to buy cheaper, but it's better to buy at 500 than not to buy. Okay, that's my take on things. So then the other thing I want to mention, this is Squawk Square. His name is in here. Squawk Square is another one of those accounts that's a trader that pretends to be a Tesla bull some of the time. Tesla Q Cat, James Cat is another one. They sort of pretend to be Tesla bulls, but they're not really Tesla bulls. So he makes this claim that Tesla Robotaxi Road has started, and users are taking the internet to share their horror stories. What the hell are you talking about, horror stories? There's no horror stories. There hasn't been even a crash. There's no injuries. There's no crashes. Where's the horror stories? But he says the fact that there were this many errors will not fly with NHTSA. NHTSA? Robotaxis, whether they're in California with Waymo or Chandler, Arizona with Waymo or Austin with Waymo and Tesla or whatever, they're not governed by the NHTSA. They're governed by the state and maybe the city. The federal government doesn't regulate robotaxis yet. It may come about that the federal government decides to start regulating autonomous cars and robotaxis, but they don't do it yet. That's not a federal function. So this is just a kind of dumb stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if NHTSA puts the Tesla Cybercab launch on hold. Cybercab isn't going to start manufacturing until 2026. What are you talking about? Like like it just doesn't even make sense. You get these guys like they think they know what they're talking about. Tesla Q Cat does this. There's a whole bunch of them that do this. So I just wanted to cover this point. Um, so I'm gonna move on to the next topics shortly. The next topic is going to be Dave Lee. Sorry, I didn't get this right. Dave Lee and James Dalma were the Robotaxi, Robotaxis and the car driving itself. So we're going to be moving on to this in a second. But let me just look in the chat. When are you and Brian White going to talk it out? Brian White and I are never going to talk it out. Brian White, as future as and I don't get along. That's a long story that we don't. But it is that does fit with the Tesla drama story, I guess. I'll go briefly into that story. Brian White had an event at adjacent to Cyber Rodeo. I was invited. I said I would go. I didn't. I wasn't aware that he was having a dispute with the Tesla Austin Club, which was organizing the Cyber Rodeo event. And he advertised this event that Omar and I and others were coming to his event. It was just like hanging out in a parking lot, right? And I'm like, sure, I'll come. I didn't know I was going to be a featured speaker, whatever. I just said, sure, I'll show up. And then I find out there's this spat, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I hear from, and I check with Anwar Beck, who's the guy at the Tesla Austin Club that I was talking to, and I'm like, I was hesitant because I didn't know about this. Like, he had set this thing up without consulting with whoever, and I didn't know what was going on. And I think Omar backed out publicly, and I was like, well, I got to see what's going on here. I ended up showing up, and he was rude to me. I showed up. I came to your event. I showed up. I met people. I chatted with people, and he was a dick. I'm like, okay, whatever. I moved on next day, whatever. And then he was on I forget the guys, some other drone guys, not Joe Tetmeyer, some guy who's droning like the Lucid Factory and other stuff. He's on this, like a live stream of this guy, and he calls me a creep. So I don't know. So he's a rebellionaire. I think he's still a rebellionaire. There's like a group message chat or whatever, and he starts messaging me, and he like wants to be my buddy. I'm like, we're not going to be friends. I don't like him. Sorry, I don't like him. I don't think he's very bright. I don't think he's interesting. Sorry. You like him, you can like him. I think he's full of hot air. And he just keeps he's bullshitting me and whatever. And I just got tired of it. And whatever. I told him, like, no, we're not going to be friends. We're never going to be friends. We can be civil to each other, and that's fine. And he's got this like need to be liked or something. I don't know. So let's see. So that's so we're not going to talk it out. There's nothing to talk about. He can be him and I can be me. We don't need to be friends. Over the years, I noticed when people are in the red, all of a sudden some people get caught up in like, what was the guy's name? Tesla Economist is another example. He was always a fake. He basically copied Stephen Mark Ryan. If you look at the early Tesla Economist videos and you look at the Stephen Mark Ryan videos of the Solving the Money Problem videos at the time, he's just copying Stephen Mark Ryan and copying me a little bit. His analysis was always copying me and Steve. Stephen and I we're like identical twin cousins. Never done a video together because like what would the point be? We agree on everything. He's just smarter, better looking, and works harder. And so, at some point, Lee, Tesla Economist, bet like some crazy amount of money of his family money on options, and it blew up in his face. And then that was Elon's fault instead of nobody told you to buy options and bet it all on options. What do I say about Dim Farley's stance about LiDAR? LiDAR, so if people don't know that, the Ford CEO said that they're going to go with LiDAR instead of with FSD, and I don't know the full context. But, typical, like, okay, I mean, I'm going to show you this shortly, a post from one of the Tesla engineers about what's wrong with LiDAR. He has a thread about it, which I encourage people to go check him out, Yoon Tasai. So we'll cover that LiDAR thing in a minute. Do we care about Barry, sell Tesla? Do I still have a $10,000 share price prediction after all what happened last year's? I don't remember if my $10,000 share price prediction was pre-split. I don't remember, but I see Tesla. It's crazy. Like I see a 25x on Robotaxi alone, maybe more than 25x. Right? You have $20 billion in gross profit. You go to $500 billion in gross profit. That's a 25x. Long term, I think you might have $2 trillion a year in gross profit on Robotaxi alone. And then Optimus is like 5 or 10x that. So could you get to $10,000 a share on that? Maybe. Who cares if it's 5,000 or 10,000? But yes, I do think we could see numbers like that. Barry represents investors. No, Barry represents short-term traders. He doesn't represent investors. An investor is somebody who's investing in the company because they believe in the company and they think that the company will succeed long term. A trader is someone who says, well, we buy at this price point and we sell at this price point, we'll make money. You don't have to believe in the company to do that. So my view is you're not an investor if you're doing a short-term trading strategy. You're a trader. There's traders and there's investors. Investors say, I like this company. I believe in this company. Long-term, I think this is going to go up and I'm going to buy. Now, you might not buy because you think it's overpriced compared to where you think it's going. Okay, well, and then when the stock goes down to a certain point, you say, hey, now I think it's priced appropriately for where I think it's going in the future. But if you're like me and you think Tesla's going to 25x, 50x, whatever, then it really doesn't matter whether you buy at 250 or 400. I think my highest buy was like 350 or 380, and my lowest buy was I started buying at 10. Like when I have free cash, I buy the stock. I don't pay attention to what the stock is trading at a given moment. And when I have to sell, I sell. Wanted to buy a Model Y, I had to sell some stock. Sucked because I sold at 240. Damn it. Don't cry for me. I'll be okay. So move some from I think Nvidia's so Mark says he moved some from Tesla to Nvidia. I think Nvidia's a good investment. I don't have a feel for like what's Nvidia's long term. Like, is there competition coming? Will the market grow enough for it? Will there be enough energy generation to support all the chips that Nvidia is going to make? I think there's some issues on the long-term horizon for Nvidia. And I'm not saying it won't be successful. It's just like I don't know how to account for that looking forward. I don't see the same problems with Robotaxi that I see potentially with Nvidia. I still think, like, if I didn't have Tesla to invest in, I probably would invest it all in Nvidia. But I'm not sure. I would do a deeper dive. Moved all Tesla to Ford. Yeah, right. Met Brian at Chattanooga Charge. Yeah, I think, some people like, we're talking about Brian again. Some people, like Brian. Some people follow Brian. I don't get what people see in him. If you asked me to make a list of Tesla influencers I would choose to follow and pay attention to, Brian would be near the bottom of that list. I mean, he's ahead of Lost Gerbil, and he's ahead of Barry Glack, and he's ahead of a few others. But I don't think he says anything that Steven and Farzad and Herbert and I don't say already, right? And Omar, and there's like a long list of content creators who say have original thoughts about Tesla or semi-original thoughts about Tesla, and I don't think Brian has original thoughts. And look, Brian doesn't like me. I'm a jerk. This is part of that Tesla drama story, right? I had more Tesla every fall. See, I add when I have free cash. I don't add when there's I don't have a lot of free cash because I'm now living on what I've got. If I all of a sudden, let's say I had a good run with content creation and all of a sudden I got some extra cash in my account, then I would buy some stock. Any comment on nuclear power in Tesla? Not really. I mean, I don't think we can scale nuclear enough to meet the electricity. The real electricity demand in the future is going to be from AI data centers, AI training compute, AI inference compute, and nuclear power can't scale fast enough to meet that demand. We need solar. And there's a whole bunch of we could talk about politics and what's going on in the U.S. Congress right now that's screwing that all up. Okay, so let's move on. So the big good news, where are we? What time is it? 9:30. So we're about a half hour in. I'm going to try to remember to do chapters on the video for people who are watching later. So right around now, 30 minutes in, we're going to have a new chapter. Okay, so this is Dave Lee, an OG. And James Dalma isn't a content creator himself, but he's appeared on a lot of Dave Lee videos. He's been on my channel. He's one of the most brilliant people he's on X. He's one of the most brilliant people in the Tesla community for understanding not just AI, but other details. So yeah, Digital Blade, I'm going to this now. I'm going to be covering the delivery now. So there's this huge event that happened about a week ago that Tesla started its Robotaxi network with 10, 20 cars. I don't know. I think it's 10 cars or 20 cars and a small number of people gradually expanding who are basically the equivalent of beta testers, or invitees who are trying out the Robotaxi network. I think Bradford has done 62 rides and Omar's done 69 rides and Dave's done a bunch of rides and James done a bunch of rides. All these guys are riding Robotaxi all over and they're experiencing it. And I encourage you to watch this video. Go to Hey Dave 7 on X. I think he might have this video on YouTube also, Dave Lee. And watch this video. James Dalma is far and away one of the best people to listen to understand what's going on with AI. So I would encourage you to watch this, but really good summary and conversation about what's happening with Robotaxi right now. And then the second big thing that happened is world's first autonomous delivery of a car. If you haven't seen it, Tesla's published 2 versions of the video, an edited one, and now there's a unedited one. The edited one speeds up segments that are boring, right? The car drove from the factory to the customer's home, about a 30-minute drive in the Austin area. Not in the Robotaxi zone, like the factory's outside the Robotaxi zone. I think the guy's apartment or house or whatever might be outside the Robotaxi zone. Drove on the highway, whatever. Did a lot of stuff that the Robotaxi network doesn't do. And it drove itself from Gigafactory, the guy's home. It's already been, they already have like a volume of vehicles, like every Y and Cybertruck coming out of Giga Texas is driving from the factory to the pickup point. Dauma's vocal fry. I've never had a problem listening to James Dauma. I don't know what you're talking about. So I am saying that this moment, a car delivering itself from the factory to the customer, is one of those like game-changing moments in tech history. And I'm putting this in there with the first landing of an orbital rocket booster, December 21, 2015, when the first Falcon 9 booster launched a payload into orbit and came back, launched the second stage to launch a payload in orbit, came back and landed. And eventually, you know, now we've seen, I don't know, 450 or something like that, booster relandings and reuses, and it's crazy. And then January 28th, 2024, Nolan Arbaugh gets the first Neuralink implant. These are game-changing moments in tech history and the history of humanity. So it's not, I don't know if it's quite on the level of the first booster landing or Nolan getting the first Neuralink implant, but it's a big deal. This is a big deal because no one else has ever done that before. No company has ever delivered a car from the factory to the customer by the car driving itself there. And this is going to become normal, yes. I think it may be less important because robotaxis are going to dominate and customers buying cars may become less relevant. But it's still like a game-changing moment. And Jose Del Corral is a Tesla employee. And he talks about this. Remember that date you'll tell your kids, right? So, and I have another post from another Tesla employee I'm going to talk about in a minute. But this is a big deal. Hi, Kieran. What? Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. James Dauma doesn't have a vocal fry. I agree with Mark on that. Okay, so Yoon Sasai is another AI engineer at Tesla. And he's talking about understanding basically why LiDAR is useless. Only 3 things matter in perception. Okay, what the car does is the car perceives the world, right? It has a bunch of cameras and it perceives the world. Frame rate, acuity, and dynamic range in a given unit of time. LiDAR has none of that. It's hopeless for a robot using LiDAR to perform any delicate work. And this guy has a great history. This is a great engineer. Yoon Sasai is a great engineer. He has a great history. He knows what he's talking about. What do you think about driving in conditions like dense fog? LiDAR is extremely sensitive to atmospheric effects, including ambient temperature. Follow this guy. Follow Jose Del Corral. Let me pull him back up. Follow Jose Del Corral. I think it's J0SE, right? It's a good name. And follow Yoon Sasai. Follow these guys. These are the like Tesla team engineers who are posting about what they're doing. I got one from a SpaceX guy coming up too. So you know, LiDAR doesn't work. This thread, he answers a bunch of questions in this thread about why what they're doing is working, why it's special, why these other approaches that people talk about don't work. RBC Robinson son says, I heard James say AI4 isn't liquid cooled. Is this true? I heard him say something about that, but I didn't get all the details. I think I was just, maybe I was driving and I was listening to it while I was driving or something. And like, I need to go back and watch the video again. I don't even think I finished watching the video. That's like high on my priority list. I got to finish watching that video. And it's hard because I usually listen to videos at 1.5x, but James, you can't listen to James at 1.5x. You got to listen to James at 1x because there's a lot of, every once in a while, there's a lot of information density and you got to keep up. So, and then other good news, Tesla is building and is almost complete its first lithium iron phosphate cell manufacturing factory in North America. This, and I believe it's short term, in the medium term, they expect this to ramp to 10 gigawatt hours, but it will become much bigger. LFP, lithium iron phosphate, is an iron-based material. The materials in an LFP battery are iron primarily, and iron is much cheaper than nickel. And the other components in a lithium iron phosphate battery are much cheaper than the components in a nickel-based battery. Nickel manganese cobalt, nickel cobalt aluminum. No, LiDAR isn't working for Waymo. So lithium iron phosphate will be the dominant battery chemistry for, it is the battery chemistry for Megapack already. It will be the dominant battery chemistry for Powerwall eventually. It is the dominant battery chemistry for most EVs in the world. Most of the Chinese EVs run on LFP. It's not dense enough for really long range use. You need nickel-based chemistries for that, but there's a lot of innovation in lithium iron phosphate batteries. And so Tesla doing lithium iron phosphate means that they will be able to lower the cost of Megapack, of Powerwall, of standard range cars. Cybercab will probably be lithium iron phosphate batteries because it's less expensive. And if you can drive down the cost of Cybercab even more, then you can drive down the cost per mile of the rides. And lithium iron phosphate also lasts longer than nickel. So you're more likely to get 1 million miles out of the battery. So your amortization, you're just lowering your cost per mile. And that means you can sell rides at either a higher profit or a lower price. Yeah, LiDAR isn't working for Waymo. And there's a lot, like if you're following what's going on X, like Waymos are having all kinds of problems. I have a post about this. I have this theory that Waymo is increasing they're going faster than they can, and they're starting to have more problems. So we'll see about Waymo and LFP, but they can't, their cost structure is too high. This is why LFP matters here. Waymo's cost structure is too high in so many different ways, including LiDAR. And they don't have the ability to manufacture scale. They don't make their own cars. They got to buy them from someone else, and then they got to modify them, and it's crazy. Nuclear power assets stranded by 2030 as solar wind batteries outcompete. Yeah, long term, I think nuclear could be competitive and could be important, and I'd like to see more nuclear. But ramping solar, going crazy on solar is is the way to getting a lot of electricity. You can't ramp anything else fast. Now another thing is based on that LFP thing. I said, and there was a post from I think Jeff Lutz and Limiting Factor Jordan Giesecke about the lithium factor, the LFP factory, and I just I said, please repost if you have the time and you're on X, please go to this post and repost it, quote post it, repost it, whatever, reply to it, whatever. I'm hoping this catches the attention of the Tesla team and they schedule another battery day because I want to hear more about what they're doing with battery day. And I think if they do that, it'll be easier for them to attract. Their goal when they do these events is to attract great engineers. And if you want engineers, show them all the cool stuff you're doing. Maybe you can get some people to come in and improves recruiting. So I would love to see that. So then SpaceX, they had 2 launches. I think within minutes of each other, something like that. East Coast and West Coast teams set records on these 2 missions. New single pad launch-to-launch record. They launched on the same pad in 56 hours. That's a little over 2 days. And this was 3 launches in less than 5 days from the same pad. That's awesome. And then 5 days from flown booster arrival via barge to launch in Vandy. Okay, Vandenberg is the launch on the West Coast. The other one was in Florida. So, and this is another account you should follow: Turkey Beaver, Kiko Donchev, a SpaceX engineer. I love following these accounts because they post great stuff. And also, by the way, it's Elon's birthday, so say happy birthday. I don't bother saying happy birthday to Elon. I don't think he cares, and I don't care about my own birthday either. So, Neuralink had a presentation that I started crying about 15 minutes in. That's when they started. And 5 different Neuralink patients on the equivalent of a Zoom call together. Maybe it was an X call together. I don't know how they did it, but it was great. And I would encourage you to watch this. Go to Elon's post and you can, or the Neuralink account, and you can see the update. But one of the updates is they now done an implant in a second hospital. I think all the implants were done at Barrow Hospital in Arizona. Now they've done an implant in Miami. They've got another location in Abu Dhabi, I believe, and maybe there's another one in the US. So they're going to start doing more of these implants, helping more people. And the I want to just mention this. Like, this is one of the Neuralink patients here. I think you see another. This is the newest. This is the guy who was done in Miami here. Um, what they are doing for these people who have really lost almost everything, is profound. You're taking people who are really, really limited in what they can do, and they need people to help them do everything. And Nolan Arbaugh modded Quad on X. It's just so profound how much they're helping these people, and we're just at the very beginning of how great this is going to be. So I'm so excited about Neuralink. I think this is, on a human level, this is the most profound thing Elon has done. I do think that, getting humans to Mars is a big deal. I think, when you're looking at what's the most important thing Elon is working on, I would say mostly what Tesla does is not as important as what this is doing for humans, what SpaceX is doing for getting humanity to Mars, and basically backing up our species, backing up intelligent life, getting us past one of the great filters, and what XAI is doing to have a truth-seeking AGI instead of, OpenAI's deceitful, these other companies having deceitful AIs. We don't want AI to lie. We want AI trained to seek truth, not AI trained to lie to us. Because if AI is lying to us and it becomes artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence, then if it starts lying to us when it's smarter than us, we're screwed. So I'm going to move on to the next. Where are we? 43 minutes. I'm going to try to do my chapters. We'll see. So I'm going to move on to the next topic in a minute, which is the Tesla killer, which I did a video about this already, but I'm just going to follow up on that video. So check out my video here about the Model Y killer. I think it's hilarious. Kiko has a good chance to be the son of my primary school teacher from Bulgaria. Interesting. Yeah, just on Waymo, like, I think I covered Waymo. Let's see. China's on the right track going all on it. So yeah, I didn't save this image, but if you haven't paid attention to this, China is dramatically increasing the amount of energy generation that they have. And they're way ahead of the United States. And the United States is flat, and all the other countries are flat, and China's energy generation is growing fast. If you want to have a successful society, the more energy you have, the better. And China is growing energy super fast, and they're growing clean energy super fast. And the United States is falling behind, and it seems like the Republicans in Congress and maybe Trump have decided, yeah, we're fine with falling behind. Not a good approach. Mark is blind in one eye. Blindsight is coming. They're going to be doing implants. Neuralink will be doing implants in blind people to restore sight soon. I think Elon showed in the video, in the Neuralink video, they showed a little bit of what blind sight is going to be, the resolution. It's not that great yet. It won't be that great. We're not talking about 720p. We're not talking about 240p. It's going to be less than 240p. It might not be color right away, but it might be able to keep you from tripping over things. Like, if it can just give you limited vision and you have none, it's a big deal. Now, 5 years out, they're going to have, even 2 years out, they're planning on having much higher resolution, higher resolution in terms of the implants, and they have a lot of plans of what they're going to do in the next few years. But initially, the first blindside patient they'll have some limited vision, and it'll be a lot better than none. This is going to be species ending once it reaches Elon Nazi Hans. Okay, so we have a troll in the we have a troll in the chat. We need to hide this user. Okay. Every once in a while I have to moderate the chat and get rid of somebody, and that guy looks like he's a troll, so we'll get rid of him. Calling Elon a Nazi is a good way to get hidden from the channel. Okay, so 3 years would be great timing for my daughter. Fingers crossed for blind sight. I think that we're going to see blind sight in 1 year or less, maybe by the end of this year even, that we'll see the first patient. But all of this, Elon has said it's going to take a while to ramp because governments can be difficult. There's a lot of issues. I would say your best shot might be going to Abu Dhabi, or I don't know if it was United Arab Emirates or Qatar. I forget where I think it's United Arab Emirates. Your best bet might be going there at that point. I don't know. We'll see. But I would look in a couple years and see where they are. Okay. So I'm going to move on. Oh, Petic says, I think you can be investor plus trader. I think you could be an investor in the sense that 90% of your portfolio is invested in companies you believe in, and 10% of your portfolio you play. Fine. That's an investor who also trades. But if all you talk about is trading, and all you talk about is, and you sell yourself as, here's when to sell, here's when to buy, and all you post about is, here's when to sell and here's when to buy, and here's my short-term stock price predictions, you are not fundamentally an investor. You are fundamentally a trader. You can have any of your opinions about it, but if you're a long-term investor, you talk about what's happening long-term, not what's happening short-term. And if you're a short-term investor, you're a trader. There's no such thing as a short-term investor. A short-term investor is a trader. Because you're not investing in what you believe in. You're investing in, you're basically playing casino games with stocks. Okay, so I posted this video, which I encourage you to watch, and the video did really well on X, and it didn't do as well on YouTube for some reason. I was surprised by this, because the video popped on X. I think it got like 55, 60,000 views, and it's got like 2,000 views on YouTube. I'm like stunned that this did that badly. So Xiaomi YU7, Xiaomi, if you don't know, is a very successful consumer electronics company in China that doesn't sell a lot of stuff in the US, I don't think. I've been in the US in a couple of years. It does sell stuff in, I think I have, I'd have to show you, but I have an air purifier from Xiaomi right here. We have one downstairs. No, this is a Sharp one. The one downstairs is a Xiaomi. They make a lot of consumer electronics products. They make a lot of cell phones in particular. I don't know if they sell their cell phones in the US. They sell them here. And they have stores in Thailand malls. And they started making EVs. And so this is the YU7. They have the SU7. And there's this video this guy made that was like, there's a bunch of videos like reviewing the YU7. And the guy literally called it a Tesla killer, a Model Y killer. Like, we haven't seen 3 times a year, this car is a Tesla killer, that car is a Tesla. We had Model S killers, we had Model X killers, we had Model 3 killers, we got Model Y killers. I don't think we've had a Cybertruck killer yet, but I'm sure it's coming. Yeah, no, I don't think your kids will get drive. Well, Europe will be really slow to adopt FSD and Robotaxi, so maybe your kids will get driving licenses. I don't know. We have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old in this house, and I don't think they're ever going to get a driver's license. So the guy's talking about the features, and at one point he talks about the tissue box, that there's a magnetic tissue box that goes behind the screen or something like that. That's it? Like, if you have to talk about the magnetic tissue box when you're reviewing the car, and it's like a Tesla killer video, and like it's better than the Model Y. Where's the Model Y? Isn't in the video. Where's the Model Y? Like, it's like it's got 10 millimeters more knee room in the back seat. Wow, how about the front seat? How about the headroom? How about the cargo space? Why does it weigh 400 kilograms more than a Model Y? How are you manufacturing a vehicle that weighs 20% more for lower cost? With leather seats and massaging seats and magnetic tissue boxes. How are you pulling off all this stuff in your car with at a lower cost? Like, are you saying Tesla's is Tesla inefficient at manufacturing, and Shanghai their most efficient factory in the world? No. It's Chinese accounting, it's Chinese game playing, whatever. I think they make good cell phones. So a Chinese YouTuber, or a Chinese vlogger says, not YouTuber, they don't have YouTube, but Chinese vlogger says that Xiaomi is faking their orders. They booked 200,000 orders 3 minutes after the reservation page went online. And this guy says that he thinks the delivery number will be off. He's been receiving calls. So check out Ray for Tesla is a great follow on X, by the way. If you don't follow Ray, follow Ray. One of my favorite follows, actually, for like, especially for stuff in China. I don't think he's in China, but he covers China really well. So Xiaomi's great, huh? So what people don't know, what they don't cover in these videos is Xiaomi. This is Xiaomi's self-driving system. Killed 3 girls. Okay, so this happens, right? They have a really bad crash with their self-driving software. Kills 3 girls on a highway. Okay, and then they had some weird incident where they were selling this optional carbon fiber hood for the SU7 is the sedan version of this vehicle, right? And they're selling this Aero carbon fiber hood, and they had fake air ducts to like supposedly cool whatever. I don't know what you're cooling in an EV, but they had this fake thing. and they had to issue an apology. Their stock fell. I think their sales fell like a third in like a month. And none of the people who were saying, "Oh, the YU7s," and this is supposed to be the Model 3 killer, but their sales plummeted after this story. And now the YU7, like this vlogger saying they're fake. And this, I don't know. Like I'm not in China. I don't know the inside story, but there's a lot of questions, and the people who are covering this killer are fuzzing details. So now you've got Yaman Taslivar. This is another one of those Tesla drama things, right? Drama in the Tesla community. Yaman was this, Tesla's going to triple in 2022 or something like that. And then he turned on Elon. He turned on Tesla. So now he's like, oh, Xiaomi is the real deal Tesla killer. And like this, it's a stock killer? Is it a stock killer or is it a kill in the car? So he says YU7 has 40% more range. Not really true. YU7 charges 2x faster. There's some truths there and there's some not truths there. More leg room. 10 millimeters is like less than half an inch. And I have a new Model Y. Honey, does our Model Y have sufficient leg room? Is the leg room in the backseat big enough? My wife just went like this. The Model Y has huge leg room in the back. Like, there's no shortage of leg room in the backseat of the Model Y. Why are you bringing this up as like a big deal? That you got an extra half inch of leg room when you already have a lot of leg room. And what about the headroom? YU7 is more affordable. Yeah, look, anybody can make a car for $100,000 and sell it for $35,000 and tell you it's more affordable. Why would anyone buy the Model Y? Because it's a better car. It's better made. So the 40% more range claim is false. Go and look at the rear-wheel drive long-range Model Y in the United States, 357 miles of EPA-rated range. I believe that's more range than any of the YU7s. Yeah, you can pick out the longest range YU7 and say it's got more range than the shortest range Model Y, but that's misleading. They crammed it's 10 inches longer, I think. It's like 8, 9, 10 inches longer than the Model Y. It's 3 inches wider. It weighs 400 kilograms more. I think it's almost 1,000 pounds heavier than Model Y. And there's this thing in the video where the guy says they made it like so that the engineers could waste space. What? Like the interior, they engineered it so that the interior designers could waste space. No, you don't make a car more efficient by wasting things. Like, this is clearly bogus, right? The Model Y, despite being 3 inches narrower and 8 to 10 inches shorter, has more interior space and more cargo capacity. How is that? And it's like their car is like an inch shorter in height. Because you have this massive heavy battery. It's almost 100 kilowatt hour battery pack that they squeeze in there. Like, why do you have such a big battery in your base model? Tesla has a supercharger network. You don't. But they have the magnetic tissue box. Okay. So how do they sell? No, it's not slave labor. No, Tesla has the same labor. It's not that they don't have cheaper labor. They're both in China. Giga Shanghai has access to the same labor pool as Xiaomi. It's not about labor. It's just like Elon has this fundamental thing. How much mass is what are the components going into your car? Right? You've got steel, you've got glass, you've got leather or fabric, you've got copper, you've got all these things that go into the car. And you can basically look at any car and say, how much does it weigh? Okay, the Model Y weighs 2,000 kilograms and your car weighs 2,400 kilograms. If it's 20% heavier, it's going to cost about 20% more to make the car. And if you're going to throw in Napa leather, and you're going to throw in massaging seats, and you're going to throw in this knick-knack and that knick-knack and a flashlight here, whatever the hell they throw in this thing, if you're going to throw in all these features, even if Xiaomi makes all these things, you're adding cost. Somebody's got to install it in the car. Somebody's got to make it. All these things add cost. You can't make a car that's 20% more content for 20% less money. It doesn't work. You would have to assume that Tesla has a very inefficient manufacturing process at Giga Shanghai when it's their most efficient factory, and they've been honing their efficiency and playing the game of pennies for years. It's nonsense. When does the new Model Y get fixed? Why does the new Model Y need to get fixed? The new Model Y is fantastic. Digital Blade says, I don't like Yaman anymore. No, but this is just part of the drama. If you go back earlier in the video, we have the drama in the Tesla community. This is just part of the drama. We have drama. 10 millimeters is the thickness of an iPhone plus a case. Exactly. That's not a significant amount of leg room. Xiaomi does make phones. Xiaomi makes a lot of consumer electronics products, but they're also making a car. Okay. So I just posted, this is just for fun. I posted on X, which feature of the Xiaomi YU7 makes it a Model Y killer? It's longer and wider, which, by the way, on Asian roads is not a good thing. It's not good in Thailand to have a longer and wider car because it's harder to turn around and narrow. I just turned around. I do U-turns probably twice a day on somewhat narrow roads, and the Model Y is pretty good at it. Did they put four-wheel steering in it to make it easier to lower the turning radius? No. The MG IM6, by the way, does have four-wheel steering. I haven't driven it yet. There's an MG dealer near me. Maybe I can score a test drive. 400 kilograms heavier. It's actually 460 at the high end, I believe. Maybe 300 at the low end. I'm saying the different models, comparing one model to the other. I think the difference is anywhere from 300 to 460 kilograms. Why do you want your car to be heavier? Is that a plus? I think in the video the guy talked about like road noise, tire noise, or something like that, and whatever. It didn't handle as well as he expected. But do you like that it has less space inside, or did you buy it because of the magnetic tissue box? Is that what makes it the Model Y killer? I just find this hilarious stuff. Okay, and let's see. Last thing here. Oh, this is another content creator. It's a big account, Arthur. I forget what the name of the account is. This guy published this video. It's got 2.2 million views. How BYD crushed. It's like an interview with this guy Arthur about how BYD crushed Tesla, and it was published on June 20th, right? And like a week later, BYD slows production in China amid surplus stock despite aggressive price cuts. BYD signals slowdown, reduces production capacity. BYD crushed Tesla, and like a week, Tesla killer, trouble. Whenever you see Tesla killer, you know, like somewhere down the road, the Tesla killer is going to have trouble. And I like BYD. We have BYDs all over the place here in Thailand. The BYD Dolphin is very popular. The BYD Atto 3 is very popular. The BYD Sea Lion 7. Like, why aren't these cars BYD Sea Lion 7 killers? BYD Sea Lion 7 is another Model Y competitor, so to speak. That's less expensive. Like, you got this other new Chinese EV. Like, if the Chinese EV sells 100,000 cars, what percent of them were bought instead of Model Y versus what percent of them were bought instead of some other car, right? Model Y maybe is 5% of the total market of cars. Maybe it's 2%. So isn't 95% of its sales coming out of other cars and not coming out of Model Y sales? Can somebody explain this to me? Because this isn't making sense to me. Okay, so let me go back to here. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the chat again. I thought Xiaomi was a phone. Xiaomi is a large consumer electronics maker in China. They sell products here in Thailand, and they started making EVs like this YU7, and they're apparently selling pretty well. But there's some issues with every Tesla. Like, are they faking their sales? We don't know. If you buy a car from a company that's losing money, I don't think Xiaomi is necessarily losing money because I think they're making money on their consumer electronics business. Although that could be Chinese accounting and financials too. Why would you believe they'll be around in the future to provide? So the one distinction about Xiaomi is, as far as we know, Xiaomi is a successful consumer electronics money that will probably be around for a long time. As compared to, say, Neta. Neta is selling, NETA is selling EVs, or maybe I think it's Neta that is on the verge of going out of business. A lot of the Chinese EV makers are small, and they don't necessarily have the backing of the larger, like BYD is a big company, right? And they have other things going on. So they're probably more likely to hold on. They're the big battery maker, right? So, some of the companies are more like, but, they've got like 100 EV makers in China, and some of them are going to fail, right? Light bar remains flickering. I don't know what you're talking about with the light bar flickering. Like, maybe that's just like a camera artifact, because I look at my car and I don't see the light bar flickering. I don't know. I think that's just a camera artifact. STED is a sign of low esteem, narcissism, and nihilism. STEDs, so those who don't know, there's a term in English called STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, STD, capitals, small s. And I created the term STEDs, smarter than Elon diseases, for people who think they're smarter than Elon. And there's an awful lot of them out there, and they're all smarter than Elon, but Elon keeps winning. Bring the OG design back. I'm not sure which OG design you're referring to. Any issues with your Model Y yet? No, the Model Y is fantastic. I didn't save a picture of it for the live stream, but um, we got ceramic film. It's really how we're 8 degrees from the equator here, so the sun is overhead. The sun is hot. It's like it was 28 degrees Celsius earlier, but it'll get to 35 degrees Celsius, which is I think it gets close to 100 degrees here. Sun is very strong here, so we got ceramic film to reflect more of the sunlight and infrared and whatever from the car. Um, and so we were out of the car for a day, and we had to drive my wife's Honda City, which I call the Honda Shitty. Um, so no issues. It's a great car. It's so fucking great. Oh my god, it's so quiet. It's so smooth. I have a video about it. I'm gonna have another video I'm working on. If Neuralink is real, then fully immersive jacked-in video gaming will be the popular. Yeah, yeah, that's coming. Robert Hirsch, darn, I'm late. What happened? Yeah, you're very late. We're about to wrap up. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else in the chat. I think we're good though. Mark Potachnik, over 100 EV makers active in China as of 2023, down from 500 in 2019 due to competition. Yeah, I think you're going to see, China get down to 3, 4, 5 EV makers. I mean, Chang'an Motors will survive. BYD will survive. Geely will probably survive. You can probably identify 5 EV manufacturers. Xpeng will probably survive. I don't know. Tesla's been almost flat for 5 years. No, Tesla's up a lot on 5 years. That is incorrect. 4 years flat. 5 years, Tesla's up dramatically. Think before you speak. Yes, Robotaxi is coming, but it's years away to make EPS higher and stock higher. Really? How many Robotaxis do they have to have before the market figures out where it's going? I don't know the answer to this question. Like, if you see the future as 10 million Robotaxis making $50,000 a year each in gross profit on average, $500 billion a year in gross profit for the company, which is 25x where we are now. Once you see that that is going to happen, the stock price should rise. Now, the stock market can resist. You can have FUD. You can have other things happening. I can't control that. The Robotaxi network is live. Anybody can see that the cost structure is less. And then you have the Optimus coming. So, I can't tell you when it's going to happen. Demand is collapsing. I don't know what you're talking about. Demand is collapsing. Where is demand collapsing? I mean, there's problems in markets. China, look, you just said that. Look, this is so comical that you said that. Demand is collapsing. Demand is collapsing for everyone. Okay, if BYD is having these problems, do you think is Tesla having a problem, or are global economies having a problem? How is this a Tesla problem if BYD sales are collapsing? I see more downside then. Let's see. I think they need the red screen if they're to be used for Robotaxi. I don't know what that means. MAGA Mike says, I think they need the read screen if they're to be used for Robotaxi. I don't know what read screen is. 10 million Robotaxi maybe in 10 years. Why would it be 10 years? Why would it take 10 years to get there? And even if it does take 10 years to get there, who cares? If you think they're going to be making $500 billion a year in gross profit in 10 years, that's a 25x in 10 years. You want to wait to get in on that, or you want to get on that now? And why would it take 10 years? They make 2 million years of cars a year now. How long do you think it takes them to get 10 million Robotaxis if they're making 2 million cars a year now? 5 years. If they don't make more, they don't increase manufacturing, they have 10 million cars in 5 years. Won't there be a tipping point where Neuralink adoption outpaces Robotaxi usage? I don't know why Neuralink has anything to do with Robotaxi. I don't get that connection, William. Economics drive change. Light flickering is the difference between refresh rate of the light bar and that of the camera. Yeah, Zolzap. There's no flickering light bar. Today's Model Y is smoother than the refresh Model S. So I have a Model X Plaid at home that I've drove. It's really hard for me to compare. Aptera is another EV company. Oh, Aptera has another. I probably should make another Aptera video, but nobody watches them anymore. Aptera has another, we have a production intent model ready coming. Like, sucker born every minute, sucker born every minute, sucker born every minute. We'll see if they can get more fools to give them money. I'm sorry to people who believed in Aptera, but at some point you got to recognize this is not going to happen. Tony Seba said 90% of all miles driven to be autonomous by 2030. Do you feel he's correct and that still holds? Not globally. Not globally. I don't think it happens globally that fast. I think that wealthy countries, yes. United States in 2030 might be a little bit of a push. Um, but I think, certain states in the US will resist, Europe will resist. I think there's going to be a lot of resistance from governments. I think half the United States, it will be true. Texas, Florida, California, half the United States, it will happen pretty fast. But Thailand, like, human drivers are so cheap here. Vietnam, Malaysia, India, there's a lot of resistance in a lot of ways. So to really, and like, you want to fill out wealthy markets first and then go to cheaper markets later, because it doesn't make sense to go to cheaper markets when you can make more money on your robotaxi in a wealthy market. So I think to a 90% is too optimistic for 2030 for the globe. For Texas and Florida, yeah. How long will Michigan hold out? How long will New York hold out? How much resistance will there be in Germany or Sweden or something? We're seeing a lot of resistance in Europe too. I don't know. I'd like a compilation of comments of Robotaxi rollout from Blue Sky. I don't even look at Blue Sky. Doesn't Neuralink tech provide the same benefit as telecommuting, but X1000? I think people still want to physically go places. I don't think Neuralink changes that. And I don't think Neuralink will scale that fast, that there will be that many Neuralinks by 2030. I think Neuralink will scale by 2035 or 2040. It's going to take a while to get, because, ultimately Neuralink is in 100 million people a year. But even at 100 million people a year, it takes 80 years to get in 8 billion people. Will Tesla make 20 million cars in the 2030s? I think that when the Robotaxi network really hits and it's widespread, then Tesla probably needs to make 10 million cars a year. I don't know if they make 20 million cars a year. I don't know. I'm not saying they won't. Because each Robotaxi does the work of at least 5 cars. So it's like making 50 million cars a year at that pace. CBC, the national network here, was trying to push a story on a Canadian-made car, completely oblivious on what it would take. Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. I mean, that's just, I don't worry about the light bar. Okay, so I've gone longer than I expected. I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank you to Mark for moderating the chat. And I want to wish everyone well. Happy birthday to Elon. Let's all stay excited about the future, and let's all keep laughing at Tesla killers, and don't over stress about the drama in the Tesla community. People will get mad. People will have fights. It'll all be okay. Thanks everyone so much for watching. Bye-bye.